For a little background, I have been into researching OTC drug substitutes for illegal drugs for a little over a year now. You can imagine my excitement when I heard of a drug similar to Adderall that I could get OTC. I have dabbled in amphetamines previously, so I have a decent amount of experience in this. I picked up a Benzedrex inhaler at my local Walgreens for around $10 and prepared for the night. Since it's my first time trying it, I got a trusted friend of mine to sit on the phone in case of a catastrophe, just to be super careful. After looking at several reports and asking a friend who had experience with propylhexedrine, I decided on 125 mgs for my first try despite my previous experience with amphetamines. At 7:30 p.m., I broke open the container and cut the cotton in half. The smell of menthol and lavender was not the greatest, but not super nauseating either. I cut up the half further into little pieces and put them in pill capsules. At 7:40 I swallowed the 2 pills I made and waited for effects. Soon, around 8:15, I started to feel quite jumpy and excited. The initial nerves and fear of trying a new substance subsided, and I was ready for what was to come, or at least I thought. The lavender burps were a not super great feeling, but not unbearable. About another half hour later the slightly euphoric feeling dissipated and I began to think that was the peak of the high. I went in with the expectation that it would be a 2-hour steady climb to a peak for about an hour before coming down for a total of 6 hours under its influence. I was quite incorrect. Because of the early euphoric feelings, I was disappointed and I thought I didn't take enough for a genuine peak. I thought my excessive caffeine consumption daily could have affected me and thought that maybe I should have taken a higher dose initially. I decided to just ride this experience out until the end without adding any more into my system. Thank God I didn't take more. Thank God I didn't take more. Around 11 p.m. I got ready to go to sleep. I had a major group project to work on the next day, so I figured I might as well get a good bit of sleep. My greatest efforts to fall asleep were fruitless. I was left wide awake after melatonin. Yes, I checked for potential interactions and all the things I normally do to wind down. I got up to clean around the house and organize my room because I felt a good bit of motivation. What felt like a second later, I checked the clock and 3 hours have passed. It's around 2 a.m. at this point, and I saw no sleep in my future. I felt a mild headache forming from fatigue and those godforsaken lavender burps returned. I had never felt more awake in my life. I knew consciously that I should be exhausted, but I was awake and alert. Now it was 7.5 hours after taking it, and I see no end in sight. At this point, I feel it will never end. The high itself is great, I feel quite productive and I can type much faster than usual. But since it's 3:30 a.m. the day of a major project, I'm not super pumped about it. My headache mentioned previously is still apparent along with lavender taste. One effect I haven't seen in other reports is a really dry mouth. I've had a good bit of water but to no avail, my mouth is still dry. I'm going to work on some various projects and hope I get tired eventually. After a good hour and a half of finishing work, I think I'm finally tired enough to go to bed. It's now 9.5 hours since I took it, and quite frankly I'm shocked it has lasted this long. It's now 9.5 hours since I took it, and quite frankly I'm shocked it has lasted this long. Maybe the capsules I used were somehow extended release. Regardless, I'm going to go pass out. I'll continue the update later today. Oh, and those lavender burp fucks are still here. At 12:40 p.m. the next day, officially 17 hours since taking it, and I feel pretty terrible. Either it's just the normal come down from amphetamines or the lack of sleep last night, but I feel pretty awful. The lavender taste and dry mouth have finally subsided, and other than a mild stomach ache and headache I feel physically normal again. The concentration and focus from last night faded, so now all I'm left with is fatigue from no sleep. Looking back on it, this was not a good idea to take later in the day. If I could fix one mistake it would be that. This drug is 110% not a social drug. I don't understand how others felt social when using this at all. I usually am a very social person, but this made me very isolated and in my own head. I would sum up